Imagine a disaster so vast it defies comprehension, the 1931 China floods. In a matter of weeks, up to 4 million lives were lost, and over 180,000 square kilometers, an area larger than England, vanished beneath the water. The Yangtze, Yellow and Huai rivers became raging torrents, submerging cities like Wuhan and Nanjing. Water rose to the height of two-story buildings, leaving 52 million people, 1/4 of China's population, devastated. The catastrophe began with years of drought, followed by record-breaking rains and 7 tropical cyclones in a single summer. The riverbanks, weakened by neglect, finally gave way. The result, a deluge that swept across the heart of China, erasing entire communities in hours. Survivors watched their homes and fields disappear, as the floodwaters refused to recede for months. This was not just a natural disaster, it was an event that scarred a nation for generations. Yet, despite its scale, the 1931 flood remains largely unknown outside China. The legacy, death, disease and despair on a scale rarely seen in human history. The story of the 1931 China floods is one of unimaginable loss, and a warning for the future. The 1931 floods were not just nature's fury. They were a disaster years in the making. Torrential rains and snowmelt overwhelmed the rivers, but human actions made things worse. Decades of deforestation led to massive soil erosion, filling riverbeds with silt and raising water levels dangerously high. Dikes and levees neglected during years of political chaos and civil war were crumbling. China's leaders, distracted by internal conflict, diverted resources from flood control to military campaigns. For centuries, dikes had been built higher, forcing rivers to flow above the plains, an accident waiting to happen. When the walls finally broke, the rivers exploded across the land with unstoppable force. The 1931 floods were the tragic result of both natural extremes and human neglect. It was a catastrophe that could have been lessened, if only the warning signs had been heeded. When the dikes failed, millions were caught off guard. Waves swept away entire villages, survivors clung to rooftops, watching everything vanish. Drowning claimed countless lives, but for those who survived, the ordeal was just beginning. Crops were destroyed, triggering famine. People ate bark, weeds, even resorted to cannibalism. Disease followed. Cholera, dysentery, and typhoid spread rapidly in the stagnant waters. 25 million were left homeless, crowding into makeshift camps with little food or clean water. Families were torn apart, children orphaned, women and girls sold to survive. Lawlessness and desperation ruled as society collapsed. The flood didn't just destroy homes, it shattered families and communities. The choices people faced were unimaginable, revealing the true human cost of the disaster. The scars of 1931 would haunt generations. The government's response was slow, hampered by civil war and political chaos. Only when the scale became undeniable did the National Flood Relief Commission mobilize. International aid arrived. Most notably, the American Red Cross and aviator Charles Lindbergh, whose aerial surveys helped direct relief. But corruption and logistical nightmares plagued the effort. Boats were scarce, and supplies often vanished before reaching those in need. The government's focus remained on fighting the communists, not saving flood victims. The disaster exposed the regime's weakness and fueled public anger. The communists seized the moment, using the government's failures as powerful propaganda. The floodwaters didn't just destroy land, they eroded trust in the ruling elite. For millions, the government's failure was a betrayal that would shape China's future. The seeds of revolution were watered by the flood. The waters eventually receded, but the scars remained. Reconstruction began, but millions were dead and communities shattered. The 1931 flood revealed how political instability and environmental neglect can turn disaster into catastrophe. In later decades, China invested in massive flood control projects like the Three Gorges Dam, hoping to prevent a repeat. Yet even the largest dams can't eliminate risk. Nature always finds a way. The forgotten flood of 1931 is a warning. Good governance and environmental stewardship are as vital as engineering. As climate change brings more extreme weather, the lessons of 1931 are more urgent than ever. The ghosts of the flood urge us: prepare, cooperate, and never underestimate the power of water.